There were times where she became a pet peeve of mine and I actually started to dislike her. I did end up burning it. She said to bash her with honesty. I would just... The three of us having a collective crush on Matthew, the situation was toxic. Okay, so take 2. Okay, so as you can tell, I'm just not gonna bother with the intro. Some of the clips went missing and I'm like, yeah, right. Including the intro, but you know, that's cool. I didn't need it. I'll give you the abridged version though. I've been reacting to my mutuals made content here. Well, it's a little bit of a series, and this video is no different. I mean, it is, but like, so this is about my old school friend. I'll call her Sonya. She has some good ideas coming up, or well, cooking up. Haha. Like, one of the things that she has in mind is a little foodie account. How cute. And I'm pretty sure, given the context, you know where this is going. But before it gets there, I just want to tell you guys about her from my POV of our little history together. Like, I realized her and I have a lot to cover that I think it needs its own video. A 30-minute one. And whenever she does make a comeback, and if she does, I'll be ready. I actually texted her beforehand just to see if it's like okay, and she was all for it. Regardless of whatever happens, I just want her to know like, hey, I'm still here, I still believe you and support you. So hi Sonya, whenever you're watching. Is it during work hours? Anyways, here's the video. So, for context. Hi again. Sorry, I know this is embarrassing. I thought I was done with filming, but I am not. Don't mind me having to re-record again. Normally I wouldn't mention it, but I couldn't dye my hair, so I'm just popping in with some edits here and there, okay? Okay? Sonya and I went to the same high school, and we were in the same grade. I first noticed her in year 8 math class, and that is because she got along with this guy. I'll call him Jay, and I can't really describe their friendship, but it was just one of those where you vibe with this person so hard that everyone around you even notices. Like, from their laughs and their inability to shut the fuck up, that shit raised the atmosphere. I think the teacher even had to separate them at one point. And Sonya and Jay, them as a dynamic, was the weirdest thing too. Picture this. A short half-y Findian girl with bushy eyebrows and a lanky-ass white man who's a little doped out in the head. Hey, whatever he does, it ain't my business. But he did change clothes in the middle of class that one time. Though it's okay, he did it in the corner. And you know what? He's actually pretty chill and sweet. One personal interaction I had with him is, I was drawing on one of my friend's laptop in math class, and what he said that day has still stuck with me, and I do appreciate it. He said one day that I'll go far, and you know what? I hope so too. It was only a sketch though, and I know I'm not the best at drawing, but it's nice to have someone compliment you as yourself. But at the same time, this is the same dude that said, and this wasn't to me, but someone he could banter with, "You're like a star, pretty from afar, but ugly up close." Nothing against that joke, I just do have some self-doubt about myself. As for today, he does have a child, and I do wish the best for them. The last interaction I have of Sonya and Jay was around a year or 2 later. Jay was passing the group during lunchtime, and he was wearing a watch. Sonya called out to him, asking what the time was. And then he came over and was like, "I don't know, I can't tell," and shows her his watch. Then her response back was,
"It literally says what time."
The watch had a camo pattern on it.
Yup. He is going to be a great dad.
Anyways, back to year 8 math class. My first impression of her was like, OMG, she seems so cool and friendly. But this was kind of like admiration, but also intimidation. Similar to earlier, it is because she got along with a lot of people, including the ones that I didn't think she'd get along with. Like, sometimes I would even witness her call this dude Luke a sloth as like a greeting or something. Or even Lukey boy. And I'd be like, what? And then the other time where I saw her sitting on a bench with my older sister and her friends, I witnessed a hug between them. Ma'am, I don't even hug my own sister.
So, what caught my attention about Sonya was her confidence and her natural ability to connect to people. Did she ever notice me? Who knows, I felt like a bubble during this era of my life. But for some reason, I already felt like I wasn't gonna get along with her. She felt too out of my league to be friends with. Even when I overheard that she likes anime and K-pop, I was like, there's an opening. But I felt a little cringe, TBH. I don't remember our first interactions, other than me being awkward, trying to impress her. But that led me to despise every time we talked and how I was with her. The first time that I ever got butthurt by her was during, again, year 8 math class. We couldn't leave the classroom until we solved this question. Minutes go by, and people go by, and it was starting to eat into our lunchtime. We were the couple of people who were lost to solve this question, and then Sonya solved it. And me being such a math hater, I was like, haha, you want to help me out? Please? And I think she said something and left. I was so freaking pissed. After that, I walked up to her and punched. I'm joking. But instead, I walked up to her during that same lunchtime, and she was sitting with a friend. I want to call her Cheeky Chops. It's either that or I'll call her Cece. She was sitting with Cece, and I walked up behind her, firmly placed my hand on her shoulder, and said in the most sarcastic tone, "Thanks for the help," and walked away. And from that day forth, I was the baddest bitch alive. Anyways, within that following year, I somehow joined Sonya and Cece, all with a little help from my little friends. I'll call them Thing 1 and Thing 2. Also, Sonya, Cece, and I had classes together. OMG, it's like fate brought us together. So, the overarch of the three of us throughout the years was our group did alternate every few months or so, and it was mainly a pair that would come and join us. So first we had the squad at class, Thing 1 and Thing 2, the Krispy Kremes, plus Chatterbox lips.
Sorry, side note, her lips did look like an actual Chatterbox, like the primary school ones. Pick a color? Blue? BL. And I use this in an endearing way, though I'll admit she was slightly problematic.
The other Asians and the blondes. I feel like there were some guest appearances, but IDR. I don't remember. But again, it was mainly Sonya, Cece, and I, though I did feel like dead weight. The only reason why I was around was because I stuck around, and also because I got along with Cece such much. At times, we were a bit unhinged, and that also caused a bit of a problem because Sonya and Cece were besties. They went to the same primary school, and they didn't like each other at first too, but you know, they got over it. So as you can imagine, it felt like I was stealing Cece away from her. During this point in time, Sonya and I's friendship, personally I think we were neutral, kinda leaning towards dislike, but we didn't mind each other. Later on, I could see that she did try to strengthen our friendship, but I just felt so intimidated by her presence. And if Cece was absent that day, I would pray to make it through. Like, I didn't want to be alone with Sonya because I feel like she'd be bored with me. And making her laugh was the most validating thing ever. I once made a Tupperware joke in the group chat and she sent ha 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 in all caps. And reading that exploded my dopamine. Anyways, Sonya was the unspoken leader of our group. And though she said there was no leader, obviously everyone begged to differ, and majority rules, so the group's dynamic was Sonya. Sonya is love, Sonya is life. Like with the pairs previously mentioned, they would join us for lunch or recess because of her. It would be a rinse and recycle process. She starts the conversation, she makes a joke, we laugh, done. Of course the others did pitch in with whatever and whenever, but Sonya was so actively present in the conversation. She did not slack when it came to those 2 30-minute breaks. Oh no. Like at some breaks, when there was absolutely nothing to talk about, she will find a way. We'd stare at the concrete, we'd pick at the grass and sticks around us, and boom, she'd say something. And everyone's like, yay, Sonya! Some of the conversations that were had were memorable too. One random conversation that I remember is, and Cece remembers it too, is Sonya going on about how her mom brushes her teeth. I was literally in tears because my mom does the exact same. It's so needlessly aggressive that you could hear it throughout the entire household. And especially when they're spitting out, oh my word. And if she was ever absent, it would be like, well, now what? Also, she would share her food with us.
Yeah. Anyone who does that deserves a kiss on the forehead.
So, back to Sonya and I. Our dynamic mirrored the group's. She'd open, crack a joke, and I'd be like, haha. Anyways. And with my other friendships, it was sorta similar to that. They do most of the talking, and I just converse. Unless you're a shyer person, then I'm flicking the switch. Like, I seriously don't mind listening, and I like what people have to say, like, 85% of the time. But with her, it was different. It was Sonya, for Pete's sake. Of course, she wouldn't want me to treat her any differently. But I did. And now I'm kinda tripping because I think that was a problem in our group at one point. Anyways, there were times where she became a pet peeve of mine and I actually started to dislike her. The Eric situation was the first one, and then there was with my ex and his friend group, which I started to build some resentment for her there. And OMG, the three of us having a collective crush on Matthew. BTW, a few months after we graduated high school, I ended up going on a Valentine's date with him. As friends. Because I felt lonely. Obviously, I asked him to. However, the straw that broke the camel's back for me was in year 10.
Shush, I lacked context the first time. So one day, Sonya stopped appearing during the first lunch break, and during this time, everyone looked around and was like, where the heck is Sonya? And then she'd turn up around the second lunch break, which is like 1 p.m. from memory. And this happened almost every day for like a week or two, and that is until Cece followed after her. Sonya didn't live too far away from school either, so they were basically jigging the morning periods together.
And that really set me off. You know what grinds my gears? Especially since I had very suppressed FOMO. And then this pair would join them like a few times too. So the four of them would be doing this walk of shame towards the group. I even once recorded Cece walking to school after leaving Sonya's apartment when I was being dropped off in the morning. I may have ratted on them, maybe with a written complaint. I had no regrets that day. In a nutshell, us as a group was about Sonya, and Sonya was the group. It relied on her so heavily that it felt like the group's survival. Without her, we'd chat in our own little pairs, and if not, it was about Sonya. Specifically, where she was. Where's Sonya? Is she coming? And yeah, the situation was toxic. Eventually, I got sick of it and went to another group where Thing 1 and Thing 2 were nested. And when I opened up to them about the situation, they weren't that surprised. They left because they knew that group was about Sonya. However, on this day, there was another person that was actually a part of one of the pairs. I'll call him Jaws. So Jaws is a bit of a nomad. He kind of just chills in different groups. He comes and goes as he pleases. But it was just on this very day where he joins the group that Thing 1, 2, and I were in.
I also forgot to mention he was known to be a bit of gossiper.
And then someone in the group escalates the conversation and opens up about the whole Sonya situation. I'll call them S. I don't remember exactly what was said, but I do remember S bringing up something personal about Sonya as the reason to why she gets treated like the queen bee in the group. I agreed with it, even though I knew she was sensitive about it.
So when the conversation of Sonya had ended, one of the girls in the group was like to S, OMG, you shouldn't have said that, because now he's gonna tell.
Jaws then proceeded to tell Sonya the next day, and yeah, all hell broke loose. As soon as Sonya messaged S and I, we were fucked. She didn't send a hitman after us or anything, but honestly, she didn't have to because she's Sonya. Of course, she was so mad, as well as many others, maybe even more than her. And I don't remember what happened after word got out. I think I was absent that day because of that reason. But the following days, as someone who only agreed with S, I felt like I got a few side stares in the hallways. And every time I'd pass by Sonya or Cece and make eye contact with them, bro, legit, our eyes would both widen and bulge out at the same time. I just wanted to cry. It became a problem that S and I would share. They were like,
man, I made eye contact with Sonya.
And I'm like, ooh, dang. Eventually, we did apologize. S before I, and I after I did something low-key out of line. So one of the pairs had an ex, and I had that ex on Snapchat. One day, I saw his story, and there was a photo of him and Cece, and I took a screenshot. Also, just to note, Cece had nothing to do with their breakup. They were broken up ages ago. The story was just for funsies. It wasn't anything intimate. Anyways, I then posted to my private IG as bait and tried to expose Sonya in the caption. But that shit was so whack. I can't believe I wrote that and was like, haha, yeah, got you now. Again, unfortunately, I do not remember everything. But I did say something about her using makeup as a glow-up, as if it meant something. Like it was the reason to why I disliked her. Girl, I thought I clapped back. Within minutes of that post going live, I instantly got smited by her, and by her friend who also commented on it more than Sonya herself. Even S agreed that this take was so bad, and no shit, I was just seeking validation at this point. But like, imagine becoming a misogynist because you don't know how to deal with your feelings towards another woman. Insane! Yes, I absolutely should have messaged her, saying you did this and that, so that upset me. Let the eye contact thing stop, please and thank you. But please, let me plead my case. The post was out of anger, and it was very spontaneous. I didn't want to DM her because I was too afraid. Prior towards that drama, I already had resentment and slight jealousy built towards her throughout the years. And honestly, I didn't know what to do or how to deal with it. Of course, she has done me wrong, as I with her, but I don't even remember half of it. If anything, I remember her Snapchatting me with the caption, oops, cheeky emoji, and the photo was of the trinket tray that I bought for her for Secret Santa, except it was in pieces because it was dropped. Only I felt like it was on purpose. In retaliation, I was going to send her a video of me burning her sweet 16th invitation with the same caption.
See, now that's a clapback.
I did end up burning it, but I'm not sure if I sent it to her or not. But you want to know what I didn't burn? This little fella. I apologized to Sonya after like a year or two of me leaving the group. I just needed more time, especially with the whole clapback fiasco, and I even apologized to Cece since I was closer to her. They both accepted, and Sonya and I were cool, as she would put it. I know it took me a long time to apologize when I did, but one of the reasons that led me was the bitch kept haunting me in my dreams.
Oh yeah, I even told her too that I was so fed up with it. I don't remember much from her reply, but I think she did say something about me living in her head rent-free sometimes. So yeah, win-win.
Though before I apologized, I've always kept an eye out for her. I remember she was recruited by a modeling agency, but I'm not sure what happened with that because on top of her having charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, she is pretty. Like, I can pick out her flaws, but that has nothing on her. I just say this specifically for her case because she was noticed, and one time in the group, like in its early days, idolized her features. Q list.
Halfy, thin, hourglass body with a thigh gap and jawline, long luscious locks, thick eyebrows, and curled lashes that were visible. Hi again. So if you want to, feel free to skip this portion of the video. You're excused. It's not that relevant, but I don't have anywhere else to put it without breaking the video's cohesion. So yeah, Make of it what you will.
But if I were to pick out anything in particular, it would be her crooked teeth.
Whoa, I did not need to use such an adjective. My bad. Hopefully this isn't me bullying her. Hear me out, I also had crooked teeth. And it's not anything to be embarrassed about. I still had my braces on during our year 12 formal, and I wear glasses. I was in my ugly Betty era.
And the couple of times she had nits. I'm sorry. The knit situation was an epidemic. I was screaming on the inside. There was this one time where I think it was Cece, but Cece and I both witnessed a knit crawl out of her hair and back into the abyss again. And we just looked at each other, silently horrified. Not a word was said, but we knew. We knew. To add salt to injury, Sonya was a notorious hugger as well. And again, I saw a knit peek its head out while she was hugging someone. Ma'am, I'm so sorry. I feel like I need to apologize every time. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. We eventually did. Well, more so Cece broke the news to her, but it did take us some time to work up that courage. In the meantime, we still hugged, just our heads at a distance. Still got knits regardless, including me. And how I found out was purely by chance. I was at the library in class with my hair down and my nails long, doing work. Of course, hair does get in the way. I tuck my hair behind my ear, but as I did, I felt something alarming underneath my nail. So I check underneath the desk, and there was a knit wedged into my nail bed. When I saw its little legs waving in the air like that, I got the jeepers creepers, bro. A shiver went up my spine, and I just had to pop it. I don't know how, but I did.
When I initially brought this video to Sonya's attention, she said to bash her with honesty, and I take it back, I will try. Sonya knew that she wasn't the best person during this time, and I can definitely agree with that. In the past, she knew she was that bitch, and sometimes to me, that would come off as selfish and self-centered, but I don't know what self-love was back then, so maybe it wasn't. However, at the same time, she was well liked by the people. She was this girl who walked with strength and confidence despite the trauma she's endured. And when it came to the group, it felt leveraging at some points. Like, doing anything against her felt incriminating. If you made a move that she didn't like, you're in a bad spot. It felt like she was never at fault for anything. It was always us that had to apologize. It was like she was untouchable, and I think in a way, she was aware of that. Did it get to her head? Maybe. The truth is, I can't pinpoint or specify her intentions back in high school, but I'm trying to understand. Again, being untouchable is power. And power can do something to a person, especially when they're at their lowest. Why did it get dark all of a sudden?
Yes, these clips went missing. I absolutely hate this. Sonya came from a life of trauma and it was ongoing. I swear, every few months or so, it was another day to get secondhand trauma from her. But she always came from a place of vulnerability and realness despite that. And for her, a teenager, an only child, to experience that and be the way that she is was so influencing to a bunch of gullible and impressionable teenagers. And it's not that the others didn't come from trauma, because they did, but they put hers over theirs because hers was the most taxing. Trauma isn't and shouldn't be a competition. But I know when someone comes along who has suffered through more than you and is seemingly to be out more than you, who makes you feel good and is good, it's intoxicating.
It was like she had the most trauma, looks, popularity, and yet was funny and relatable. And that captivated respect. And God, she had so much of it.
She also got everything that she wanted.
The friendship between Sonya and I was so unhealthy, if I could even call it one. For me, the best way I can describe it is that I had more of a connection to her reputation and image than to her as a person. And I'm not the only one who would feel this way. When kept on the pedestal that high, one could only imagine how lonely it is. Yet, her wanting a connection, a bond, a cope, something normal for once, where she felt like she was in control of, was actually isolating her. And that in itself is not her fault. I don't want to paint anyone here as a bad guy, and I don't think I have, but we all had a part to play in idolizing her the way that we did. Of course, she has done wrong, and we've all done wrong in this situation. It could have been worse, but we didn't know any better at the time.
It was only when I distanced myself from the entire situation where I began to blossom as myself. And then eventually, I reconnected with her years later. Yes, I was re-traumatized again, but what's new? But the bad thing can't keep her down for too long, because she just comes back with twice the power. As for us, I did feel our old dynamic creep in, but it matured. Just re-meeting Sonya as the person she's now become has been euphoric for me. I still see the same heart that I saw many years ago. I know that she never intentionally meant to hurt anyone. She did regardless, but it wasn't anything that personal, at least to me, and it's liberating to experience her changes. Going home after that felt like an old chapter has finally come to a close. So, believe me when I say I do want to boast on more about her, but this video is so over time. Who knows, maybe she'll mention this video as much as her parody to Gangnam Style. Anyways, yeah, that's our history together and my POV on her. I think I might have torn a vocal cord, but that's gonna do it for today. If you're still here or gave it a watch and are not Sonya, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
I hope you have a wonderful week, and please take care.
Oh, you're still here? This video was a bit of an intense one, as in like start to finish, but I'm really happy that I did this and I actually had so much fun with it. It's been planned for months. Was this exaggerated? Maybe, maybe not. Obviously, my POV has changed on the situation, yet I'm unsure of how accurate my memory is. But I honestly felt so crazy. Like, I remember not wanting to go to school, and even changing schools, and I was very avoidant with how I felt. Anyway, glad that's over, but just to make it abundantly clear, none of us thought that she was a bad person or a villain. And it's funny because no one has fully talked about the situation. I mean, why would anyone at this point? Like, this is the first time that I've actually come to terms with it since I had to reflect on it for this video. But yeah, I feel pretty great.